guys, Mike BK Phony, the BFF report. Today I have a game called Path of Exile from Grinding Gear Games. This game has been in closed beta for probably a little over a year, maybe even 2 years, not quite sure, but it's been open beta for less than a couple weeks. So I decided to jump in there, take a look, and when I first heard of Path of Exile, the first thing I thought was, all right, another action RPG, I can't wait to jump in. No, actually I'm lying. I was just like, okay, yay, another one. On top of, I don't know, Dragon Sang, Torchlight 2, maybe Diablo 3. And that's just 3 of them. There's so many of them that get cranked out just constantly. They don't get popular. And there's a reason for that, because they're typically bad. And even the ones that do get popular end up being bad as well. Except for Torchlight 2. I quite like that game. And the best part about this whole thing is that it's presented to me by like everybody as this is what Diablo 3 should have been. This is the true successor to Diablo 2, right? Let's be honest, folks, it doesn't take much for some of you guys to qualify a game as, quote, better than Diablo 3. Now, I don't want to turn this into a Diablo 3 hate fest, so we're gonna go ahead and leave that alone. Let's just say that besides core gameplay mechanics, the only real similarities here between the two games is that they both don't have offline mode. That's pretty much it. So let's get into character creation. You have a selection of 6 base classes, okay? And I say base because you'll see in a minute, things get kind of weird as you start to develop this character further. Outside of this, there's no customization options. You basically choose your character class, and then you pick a name, and then that's pretty much it. Now, this may seem like a bit of a downside, but let's be honest, really. If you choose, like a different awesome mustache for your Marauder, it's not really gonna set you apart that much when everybody's running around the game wearing some awesome helmet they just picked up. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put this young lady in the Hardcore League. This is essentially the difficulty settings. There's a little bit of a different rule set involved with going in the Hardcore League, as you would expect with any game. Now, there's one thing that does set this apart from Hardcore that I've seen in pretty much every ARPG I've ever played, and that's if your character dies, it's not gone. You don't lose everything. And I know what you're thinking, if there's no permadeath, then that's not hardcore mode. Well, you kind of do permanently die in a sense. It's really difficult to explain. How about I just show you? First off, here's my character, here's a starting area, right? This is all here to teach you basic things like gems and picking up weapons, equipping them, firing off random abilities, okay? You're gonna go through and you're going to kill this boss here at the end. You're gonna go into your first area. Now, see the stash over here? In every ARPG, there is a shared stash. It's basically a shared storage amongst all of your characters. Now you notice that it's empty. Well, I'm gonna tell you, there is something in there, you just can't see it because you're in a different league. Now let's say you're out there in the open, you're just pulling tons of zombies, not paying attention to your health, having a good time, then all of a sudden you die. Well, no problem, I'm just gonna click on resurrect here and then end up back in town, look around, everything's fine, everybody's here, okay. Maybe I escaped the permadeath mechanic, right? Well, if I look at my stash, you see there's an item in there now. This is because you have now been bumped up to the parent league, which is essentially normal mode. You can no longer access hardcore mode on this character without starting over. Now on the downside, you're probably bummed because you didn't permanently die, right? So, well, it's kind of a softcore hardcore mode, but on the upside, you get to keep everything that you've earned, which means all that awesome gear that you've accumulated on the other side is now with you here. And in some cases, the only place to get that gear is from hardcore mode. Now these 2 leagues are the only ones that exist right now in beta. We have other ones that are on the website that are gonna be coming, Iron Man, Cutthroat, and Attrition, each one adding a different mechanic, making it more difficult than the prior. Or maybe difficult's the wrong word, maybe interesting is more appropriate. Now going back to the beginning of this young lady's life, we're on the beach and I picked up a gem. Now this gem is a skill. You see, this is probably one of the most interesting facets, one of 2 extremely interesting facets of Path of Exile. In most games, you spec into something that gives you an active ability that you could use. Or you level up and you earn an ability just because you've reached the appropriate level. Now these skill gems can be acquired by completing quests, trading with somebody or another one of your characters, or a random drop. In order to use these, you have to meet the requirements of the gem itself, which could be level, it could be stat, or it could be color of the socket. And as you can see, every other thing that I'm wearing here has a socket on it. So as long as I meet all the requirements, I just throw this bad boy in there and now I have a new ability that appears on my UI in the bottom right corner. Now on top of that, you can get gem modifiers, which are secondary gems that can go into sockets that are attached to other sockets that will modify the ability in that socket. It just goes on forever, and it's actually a pretty intuitive system. Now initially I was like, okay, this is a pretty interesting way to keep things balanced, because if I pick up a piece of gear that works for my Marauder but not for something else, right, based off of like maybe stat requirements, then obviously the socket won't work for a specific gem, so it'll be like a certain color or something. And this sounds like a pretty solid theory until you pick up an item that actually modifies the color of any socket on any piece of gear. Okay, well that's just socket color. We still have other requirements, right? Yes, but a lot of those can be modified as well. The same way that you change the color on this, you could change bonus stats or procs or whatever And before you know it, that character that started out as a brute force marauder running around punching things in the face turns into a Barbara Necro Shaman Mage. Totems, fireballs, raising the dead. Oh, and I forgot I have an aura too. Now how do I squeeze Paladin in there? But you're probably asking, where else am I getting these stats from? How am I able to afford to use these skills and abilities? Well, let's take a look at the passive skill tree for a moment. Passive, meaning that there are no active abilities in here. Everything here is gonna be a stat increase or an ability increase of some sort. Like for example here, I get to spend a point with my ranger, leading it down a certain path, which is where Path of Exiles comes from. And you earn these points as you level, or occasionally you get them by completing certain quests. So you see we have all of these things that you could go and you could put them in. You could kind of go down here, right? We're just kind of incrementally increasing the character's overall power. Now this may look like a lot, and this may look kind of confusing, but let's take a look back here. I'm telling you, once you get the gist of it, it's actually not that difficult. Every character starts in its own section. And like you saw with the Ranger, you can only go a handful of places from there. So once you get in, you level a few times and you get over the initial shock of 1,300 plus skills, you'll be all right. All right, now that you guys understand that, there should be no question as to why my character and every character that you're gonna see in this is doing shit that they probably shouldn't be doing based off of your initial impressions of a particular class. So let's talk about combats and level design. That's kind of interesting, right? Well, every area is actually randomly generated. And the way it works is you have all these zones that you can move to, and you can use a waypoint system to bounce between them if you like, after you discover them, of course. But all this stuff is expected of an ARPG, right? The thing I like most about Path of Exile versus other ARPGs I played is that every area looks different. Every biome just has its own unique flavor to it. So yes, the game has its fair share of dark dungeons and caves, okay? They look fucking awesome, but sometimes I might want to get a little sun, because when everything is dark in every level and every place you go, it's depressing. So obviously I appreciate that they put in some kind of diversity in the game. It makes it feel like I can play it for more than a couple hours and I'm not doing the exact same thing, even though I am kind of doing the exact same thing. Now, the only areas that are not going to be randomly generated are going to be the social areas like the quest hubs, which is this for Act 1 and this for Act 2. I don't know what Act 3 looks like, I haven't been there yet, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that there are people in these two areas. And the only time you're going to see people outside of these areas is if you're rolling in a specific league that allows that, or you have someone in your party, or you join a pug through the notice board. Now here's where the fun comes in. If you have a group of friends that are playing this game and they're a few levels ahead of you, like let's say, I don't know, 10, and let's say that they're in Act 2 and you're only in Act 1, well the way it works is they have to actually come back to Act 1 to help you clear everything there, which doesn't take that long. But the best part is that you're gonna be gaining levels so fast, you're not gonna know what to do. Now I know that there is a formula they developed to basically nerf experience based off how many people are in your group, right? And I understand that this is a system that's supposed to work, but we were rolling with like, what, 5 people, 4 or 5, maybe 6 people in a night, and I gained so many levels so fast, it was stupid. I didn't even know what I was doing. As a matter of fact, this is how I became my Barbarian Necro Shaman Mage, because I kept picking up skill gems. I didn't know what to do. So I said, I'll equip them. I had 15 different active abilities, but I only had like 8 slots. Now this is not a bad thing, actually. This is great. You party up with friends, you get rewarded for it. They don't have to spend all of their time in the lower level areas in order to basically boost you, and you get to experience more of the game quicker. It's a win-win. But let's say if I'm one of those guys who doesn't have enough time to play one single game. Maybe I work too much, right? Okay, when I get home, I want to play a little bit. Well, unfortunately, all my friends are much further ahead than I am, which sucks. So what do? Do I get new friends, or do I have to rely on them to come back and carry me so I can play with them some more? Now, I'm not trying to force a negative angle on this. What I'm trying to present to everybody is that on their cash shop, which by the way is the greatest cash shop in the industry, they don't have boosts, which is something that I've always said is okay, because I am that person. I am the type of person who will pay for an XP boost to give me a bit of an edge to allow me to level up faster. So now, on my own personal time, I could jump in there and play and try to catch up to my friends while they're out doing and experiencing the higher level content. I'll be there soon. Let me just throw down some money for some XP boosts and grind out some levels. Now, since we're here, let's just very briefly go over the cash shop. The only thing they sell there is cosmetic stuff and extra bank tabs. They're not selling gear, they're not selling magic find, they're not selling anything that can translate into currency. They're just not. And here's the thing, even though I think XP boosts are awesome, I do think that they kind of fall into a gray area. No, they don't translate into currency directly, but what they do allow me to do is to get to a higher level faster so that I can,
you know, get some of that higher level gear, then I can turn around and turn it into currency. But did I tell you what currency was in this game? In-game currency is bartering and trading. Like, you go up to a vendor and you just say, yeah, all this stuff, boom, 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 right? And they offer you, like, not even entire scrolls of wisdom, which are discovery scrolls in this game, by the way. They'll give you scraps, and you can put the scraps together to make one entire scroll of wisdom. Like, and that's the thing. I've never looked at coin currency in a game, or mineral currency, whatever you want to call it, as being a redundant form of currency. Like, in Path of Exile, it's funny. It's completely genius. The whole system is, what are these guys gonna do with coin currency? Nothing! Have you watched The Walking Dead? Nobody's buying their way into groups. It's all about guns and weapons, ammo. Like that's what it's, resources, supply, food. That's what it's all about. And last up, we have PvP, and it is currently not in any state that's even worth mentioning other than the fact that there is PvP in the game. It is very, very much in its infancy, and it is very, very much imbalanced as it should be. Now, as I mentioned, there will be leagues that encourage open world PvP, but they're not even here yet, so there's no reason to even speculate on those. Now, as it stands, I view PoE as being just an alright game. It's fun. I get in there with friends, they spawn a billion minions. I can't tell one from the other because there's no health bar on top of any characters. This is a problem, by the way, but it's still a fun game. All I can tell you is that right now, this is a solid ARPG. You will go in there, you will have at least several hours worth of fun. For me personally, it's been about 12 to 15 hours, and I want to go back, so that says something. And it's free, with zero expectation or pressure from the cash shop, something we honestly don't see enough of nowadays.
All right, so feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comments below on Twitter and on Facebook and on Twitch and even on Reddit. That's right, I have a Reddit account, reddit.com/r/AKMikeB. Go and check it out. I try to comment on as many things as I can there. Plus, it's a nice little aggregator for those of you guys who want to get content without leaving Reddit, because I'm kind of one of those people. So check it out, and of course, next week, another BFF report. I'm thinking of moving days again. Today, you see this is up on Wednesday. I think Wednesday might be a good day for me, not quite sure. But I tried Monday for a little bit, for every other week, and it didn't really work out. Thursdays got a bit crazy. Fridays is just kind of out, I don't think I'll do Fridays as a last-ditch effort, maybe. But I think Wednesday might be kind of seated in a nice spot. See, you get TETS, you get BFF, you get WID. I'm all about acronyms, baby. So, and then lastly, of course, next week is gonna be Dust 514, assuming that it is polished enough to actually warrant some kind of review. Because right now, gameplay's fun, graphics need some work. So we'll check it out. Maybe we'll write them a pass on that if the gameplay is amazing with graphics coming soon. Who knows? But I talked too long. I'm gonna cut things off now. That's right. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm done, okay? We're gonna stop talking about things that are important, like how Dead Space 3 is a console port. How much does that suck?